Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly episodes where we talk about movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us today on this fine August the 20th, 2024. This is episode 449 of the Media Boat Podcast. And yeah, we got some stuff to talk about, just things here and there. So why don't you get us started?
I'm just like confirming, like, are we really at 449 already?
Yeah, 449, then 450 next week.
I don't know. What a milestone it is. And so before we get there, we got to get through this episode, starting with the music section. Start the music section with the Billboard. Start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And the hottest song in the land is still a bar song, Tipsy by Shabuzi. Coming in at 2, I Had Some Help by Post Malone, featuring Morgan Wallen. At 3, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. Coming at 4, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. And rounding out your top 5, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish. This is a
Yeah,
new top 5 song.
I mean, it's getting a lot of radio play. She performed it on the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, which we talked about last week. So yeah, it's around.
Oh, is that the song that she
Yeah,
performed?
it's climbing the charts.
I did not know what she was singing because I could not hear it.
Wow.
No, not because I was watching it on mute, but because I couldn't understand what she was singing.
Damn.
As for your album chart, your Billboard 200, at number 1, and continuing with the streak, The Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. At 2, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess by Chapel Roan keeps climbing that ladder.
Does.
At 3 here, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen.
Yep.
Rounding it out at 4, Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish. And capping it off at number 5, The Great American Bar Scene by Zach Bryan.
Yep. Back in the top
It's
five this
back.
week.
If you didn't like any of those songs, we have new releases, starting with Solos by Bryce Dessner.
Yes. One of the Dessners, not Aaron Dessner, but his brother, Bryce.
As I say, the other Dessner,
Another Dessner.
the less famous Dessner.
Yes.
Coming in at 2. Nope, also new releases. We have Romance.
You can rank them if you want. I don't know.
I don't know. It's Romance by Fontaines DC. We also have Woodland by Gillian Welch and David Rawlings. Power, all caps, by Illuminati Hotties.
Mm-hmm.
Whirlwind by Lainey Wilson. Yeah, that Lainey Wilson.
Hey, Lenny Wilson.
There's also something called Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay.
Yep.
Curve 1 by Muramasa. Short and Sweet EP by Sabrina Carpenter. Uh, You'll Have to Lose Something in all caps by Spirit of the Beehive. The Bed I Made by the Softies. American Standard by Uniform. And lastly, About a Woman by Thomas Rhett.
Yep.
All right. Are you going to be listening to any of these?
I will listen to the Illuminati Hotties record. I will listen to the Magdalena Bay record. I might listen to the Sabrina Carpenter record. We'll see how that is, even though I'm betting that it already has two of the biggest singles of the summer on it. So I'm just curious about what else is on there. And yeah, that's probably it.
What if it's just those two songs and that's why it's called Short and Sweet?
Yeah, it would be fitting, certainly. I think I'm gonna skip Lainey Wilson. I went back and actually listened to her last record after it won. What did it win? The CMA or something, or the
Yeah.
Grammy? I forget what it was. But I went back and listened to it. Not for me. Not my vibe.
I'll be checking out Thomas and the Rents as he talks about a woman. Let's get to some music news.
Yes.
And somebody yelled timber. It's going down.
Yeah, really light story. There isn't really much to talk about this week.
Well, after some aggressive fan speculation online, Pitbull went to Twitter on Sunday to address the rumors about why Kesha's name was removed from the YouTube title of their 2013 music video, Timber. Quote, Kesha, wait, actually, this is my Pitbull
Yeah,
speak.
okay.
Quote, Kesha and I have an incredible song together. Nothing will change this. Team Pitbull is looking into this matter. Always nothing but love for Kesha. Dolly.
That was a terrible Pitbull, but good try.
Close quote. Well,
Anyway.
since he tweeted that out and after some investigative sleuthing, her credit has officially now been returned to the title of the song. In fact, she appears to be been credited twice in the
Yeah,
title.
like I guess how it's formatted now is Pitbull, comma, Kesha, Timber featuring
Featuring
Kesha.
Kesha.
I don't know. It could just been a metadata problem. It could have been somebody like double checking if they still had like if the record labels were still playing nice. It could just be a routine check that those labels do on their YouTube videos. But it didn't matter because Team Pitbull was on the case. Which I want to know what else Team Pitbull is researching right now.
I think this was more Team Kesha than Team Pitbull.
Team Pitbull is looking into this matter, though.
Yes, but it was Team Kesha who spotted the error.
Regardless, it's a funny story. The other thing that I'll just mention real briefly is like, yes, I'm aware of the weird Taylor Swift AI that Donald Trump has decided to promote on his own platforms. Um, it's gross, and I'm sure that she will get litigious very soon about it. Just watching the clock on that one. So don't be surprised if next week's story involves Taylor Swift's lawyers.
I mean, hasn't like some presidential campaigns come out and say that any use of AI is considered election interference?
Yeah, well, they haven't gotten the Trump campaign yet.
I believe it was the Trump campaign that actually said that.
Well, they're not doing a very good job of self-policing themselves, are they?
Do you think they have any like self-policing going on there?
I'm gonna say no. Probably not.
I'm gonna say we should step away from the topic because we are not a political podcast.
No, but we try.
No.
What else do we got?
What else? Well, we listened to some albums.
True.
Uh, Now I'm sure you're all wondering, waiting. So yes, we'll get right into it. Post Malone
Yeah.
has turned country,
Yeah.
or
Sure.
rather, he's turned country artist pop.
I mean, no, you're right. Closer to the first one with the first one.
I don't know. I
Um,
want to say Lil Nas X is a little bit more country than Post Malone in his songs.
I don't know. I
Let's
would
talk about
actually
it.
argue that that's not true at all. I think Old Town Road was an exercise in country, but after that, I think Lil Nas X just started making rap music, which is fine. Like it's what he
Yeah,
wanted to do.
that's
Post
fine.
Malone, meanwhile, has gone through this whole career arc where it seems like he's always kind of wanted to make traditional songs and he's kind of was stuck in rap for a while. And this is, I think, actually feels like a natural progression for him to end up here. Because he does kind of have a knack for this. Whether I actually like listening to it or not is another question. But I think that he's demonstrated here that he can put out a pretty down the middle, pretty average country record full of guest spots, which is what this is.
I don't know what album you're listening to, but if you put circles in this album by
I
Post Malone, you cannot tell a damn difference.
mean, yeah, he was kind of hinting that he could write songs like this whole time. Um, so that's not really a surprise. I'm not surprised. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. It's like
But
this just
that
makes sense to me.
it just makes sense that this is the next transition for Post Malone.
Yeah, I could see it.
So this is the Post Malone career.
Post Malone. No, I don't think he's done. Uh, far from it, probably.
I don't know, but yeah, so let's talk about how there's this technically a double album with the first part of this being very guest spot filled. Every
Yeah.
single track on it is filled with some country artist guest spot onto it.
Yes, all
Whereas the
but
back
three.
half, it's just all him.
Yeah, and it's an interesting contrast. It kind of reminds me a little bit of what Taylor Swift did this year with Tortured Poets, where it's like we're gonna give people what they expect in the first record, and then maybe play around with expectations on the second half. I listened to both, and I actually ended up liking the second half a little better, but that's because I don't really have much affinity for a lot of the guests on the first half. And so their presence really didn't do anything for me. However, it is the main record, and people who are in the country genre and fans of these people will probably way like enjoy the first half way more because of that. I don't think that as good as he is doing country songs, I don't think Post Malone himself like really holds the second half of this down as much as I think he would like to be. Maybe next time there's no features and it's just a country record straight up. But I don't think he's quite ready to go there yet. I don't have a problem with guest spots, generally speaking. I think some are better than others. I don't have a problem with songwriting. I think he has a decent ear for country writing. Um, I think some of the lyrics are a little too Post Maloney. That opening track with Tim McGraw comes to mind. It just
Mhm.
like slaps you in the head with like, oh yeah, this is Post Malone. Um, but generally speaking, I think he does a pretty good job. The thing that bugs me, and this is very much a personal thing, is the production of this record. I think it's just a personal thing. When I want to listen to a country record, that's not a recording of demos. You can listen back to our conversation about the Marfa tapes with
Mhm.
Miranda Lambert and friends. If I know it's a produced studio record, like of in the country genre, I want it to sound like that. And my problem with Post Malone's records before this, and including this one, is it sounds crappy. Like it just doesn't sound good to me. Like the instrumentals aren't clear, the vocals aren't clear. There's a fuzz to a lot of this, and I'm not against it. It's just that when I'm going in for that classic country sound, I want it to gleam. I want it to sound like really clean and well produced. I want it to sound like those 90s country records that Tim McGraw, for example, made. I don't want it to sound like he's using an old timey microphone or something. I had this problem with the not this year's, but the previous Zach Bryan record, where it's just like I don't know why these artists who have the money and can afford to make this sound good choose for it to sound bad. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's the experience that you had, but
No, I mean, I thought it was awesome that it all flow together, which if that's what it's going for,
yeah,
then yeah. But that's also the issue that I have with it is that every song kind of sounds the same, one after the other.
sure.
Yes, the guest spots are there. I did enjoy the Luke Bryan guest spot, but that's also because Luke Bryan fan.
It was
Uh,
basically a Luke Bryan song.
it's
I
basically a
mean,
Luke Bryan song,
you're
yeah,
when you want a Luke Bryan song, you're going in for a very specific thing, and of course, it's the one that's mostly about drinking because of course it is.
yeah. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. Who can say?
And of course, there's one prerequisite song about being a father on
Mhm.
here, which does its job. I think it was
Luke
okay.
Combs, it's Luke
Yeah.
Combs, and then there's also one with Lainey Wilson, and I think Jelly Roll's on here too.
Jelly Roll does show up.
Yep. So yeah, he's got the gamut of current country hit artists.
Not any of the ones
Kind
that
of
I
just
like, but
for you.
yeah, they're there.
They have hits. They don't
Yeah.
have to like them for them to not have hits.
Hey, I didn't say they didn't have it. But it's
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it's just
okay.
comparing this with yeah, it's okay comparing like this with Cowboy Carter,
Yeah, no, nowhere near comparison. That's not what this
especially in
is.
production value. Yeah,
Yeah, if you compare the two, it's like Beyonce is talking about country more on that record than she is making country music. And she's also really talking about Americana and folk. She's like going into all sorts of corners. When Post Malone says he's making a country record, he means a modern country record. The second half has a little bit of stuff that delves back into kind of some retro sounding stuff, but for the most part, especially with the people he's getting on here, he wants to get the people who are listening to country radio right now. And I
okay.
think it mostly achieves that.
All right. Anything else to say about Post Malone's record here?
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
I
I
will
think we're
never
kind
go
of landing
back
on here.
to
It's just
it.
fine.
Yeah, I will never go back to it, but I think I at least want to commend him for doing the thing he said he was going to do and doing it well enough that I think a lot of people will like this. I think this will be a surefire patio summer record for a lot of people's barbecues from here on out.
You think this is going to be turn out better than Diplo's Turn to Country?
Absolutely.
All right. All right. But you listened to two other albums here
Yeah, I'll be brief. I'll use the country segue to talk briefly about Morgan Wade, the anti-Lainey Wilson.
and
Kidding.
the Anti Morgan.
And the anti-Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wade's record is not what I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of slower songs, a lot of ballads here. It's very vibey, and I don't think people who are looking for a pop country record will be satisfied with it. Beyond the title, like the first track on the record, it goes in a completely different direction than I anticipated, which I didn't hate. But I'm just saying that if you want something that's going to be patio summer party vibes, this is not it. It's very introspective. It's very slow. It's very thoughtful. And it sounds great. She's got a great voice, and the instrument like the instrumentals are great. Like it sounds like how I want the Post Malone record to sound like in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's not exactly a happy record. It's not necessarily a party record. Go in knowing that, but it's very introspective, very very interesting. I think she did a good job with what she set out to do. But yeah, you have to be in a specific mood for this. On the flip side of that is the other thing I listened to this week. I'm a big fan of the band Charly Bliss. Their first record, Guppy, is one of my favorite records, kind of my go-to summer record. Like when I just want to go into a car and have like my windows down and enjoy the summer heat. Like it's great. Well, since then they haven't made anything that sounds like that. That was kind of in an alt rock 90s zone. Since then they've really leaned towards pop. Their second record, Young Enough, I actually talked about on this podcast a handful of years ago. That was probably on my top five. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one ended up on my top five this year. I think this is better even than Young Enough. It's still in that pop direction, but the pop songwriting that they're doing here has gotten better. I think the songs are stellar this time out. Everything is energetic, which is what they've always done really well. Everything has a kick to it. It's I would recommend it to people who like enjoy things like Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion, like just straight up pop records. This is as close as you're going to get to that with still having a lot of guitars in it. It's fantastic. I really enjoy it. One of my favorites of the year so far. And yeah, it just goes to show you can't count a band out, even if you're questioning their direction. Like they might surprise you and make something still wonderful that you didn't expect. So yeah, definite recommend there.
So do you think this becomes your new summer drive album?
It might be one of them. I mean, they're so different, that first record in this, that I feel like they could coexist. It's not replacing it, but yeah, I really enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll check this one out.
Maybe. Do
All right.
you ever go back
Let
to the Biba Doobie record?
I did not. Was I supposed to?
Well, you said you were going
I did not. Was I supposed to?
to. Anyways.
I don't know. Rewind the tape. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Comment
Good thing we
if
record
I
these.
said I was going to go back and listen to Giba Doobie. All right. Let's move on then into video games. We're going to start
Yes.
with new releases, including Dustborn for everything but the Switch. That's your only major wide release. Everything else is kind of a personal one. including Numata for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, Tactical Breach Wizards for the PC, and then your two heavy hitters of the
Yeah.
week. Well, one's more of a heavy hitter than the other, so we'll see how things actually shake out.
We'll see.
But I'm talking about Black Myth, Wukong for the
Yeah.
PC and the PS5. And apparently it's already breaking records on Steam
Hmm.
and PC.
Well, I'll get to that.
We'll talk about that in a second here. The other game coming out is Concord for the PC and the PS5. This is the hero shooter game.
Yep. Yep. PlayStation, whatever they call their subscription service, network PlayStation Network
Yes.
members, some of them have already enjoyed the beta for this and kind of already been play testing Concord. It's out proper this week. Not a whole lot of good press on that so far, so hoping they pull it together for launch. As for Black Myth Wukong, I just want to briefly bring this up because it's not our story this week because Gamescom happened today. And so we have opening night live announcements to talk about instead. But if that wasn't the story, I feel like the story probably would have been the stuff that's going on with Black Myth Wukong. Have you heard anything about this game?
Uh, not really. I've just seen some headlines about it, with it like being very heavily played in its opening night or opening
Yeah.
days.
So that is true, but there's a caveat to that. So the game is developed by a Chinese developer. And apparently, a graph shows that 88% of the people that were making up that big number were in China. Apparently, it's a
Mm.
huge sales success in China. Everyone else has a very slim piece of that big pie. So yeah, it is breaking records, but mostly in its home country. It's kind of just an average hit everywhere else. Just to put that in perspective.
That would kind of make sense though if this
Yeah.
is based on the Wukong legacy or fifth myth, fable,
Yeah, I mean,
legend.
it's based loosely on a lot of the stuff that, same stuff that Dragon Ball is based off of, that Journey to the West story,
Yes.
to traditional
Hmm.
mythology. The other thing about Black Myth Wukong is, and this has to do with the baggage that comes from being developed in China, is that it's been controversial since its announcement due to its developers' statements about a lot of things culturally. If you know anything about how the Chinese government works, is that they like to tamp down on things that doesn't agree with their image. And this includes of talk of feminism, talk of COVID-19 and lockdowns, and talk of extreme political viewpoints that don't agree with communist China. Like the existence of Taiwan, for example, is another sticking point. Well, Black Myth Wukong has been tied up in all this drama. Initially, the first kind of salvo of this was the developer said something about not caring if women play the game and then it not being for women. Not great. And then following that, when it was released and when game code started going out to press and streamers like influencers, apparently the press and the influencers got very different directives about how to treat the game. Press outlets were more or less able to just talk about whatever they wanted with the game. Influencers apparently got an email that said not to speak about COVID in their streams, speak about like political issues, and speak about feminism in their streams for this
Hmm.
game. This has backfired, as you would imagine, as it's like, what the
Hmm.
hell are they talking about? So what's happened is now you have, including today, a lot of people who are in the kind of influencer circles that are purposefully doing streams of this game where they are like doing fundraisers for feminist causes and stuff and talking about political issues and trying to push this weird censorship out. Um, there's also a boycott going on for Black Myth where people are just like who are don't want to deal with that kind of regressive thinking and are just boycotting the game altogether. So it's a complicated stew that they've made for themselves with Black Myth Wukong. And at the end of the day, it's reviewing okay. It seems like it's getting like around the 70s review wise here. It seems like an okay Dark Souls-esque kind of character action game. It seems fine, but man, is it worth the discourse? Probably not.
Probably not, but I didn't realize this game was about a Taiwanese feminist woman who spreads COVID.
Who knew? I didn't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I guess that's the myth behind it.
I
Prove
really
I'm
do want to.
wrong.
I really would want to play that game. No, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to play
No,
anything about spreading COVID. Maybe if she was preventing COVID, then we're talking.
maybe, but then you'd have
Giving
to
people
then
masks.
politicize COVID and telling people not to leave their houses
Yeah, God
and just
forbid.
walk around trying to put masks on everybody.
It'd be an interesting game. Anyways,
Anyways,
that's I just wanted to get that out about Wukong. We can talk about Gamescom now.
okay, yes, because Gamescom opening night live
Yes.
happened like an hour ago.
In case people don't know what Gamescom is, it's basically European E3. It takes place in Germany,
Mhm.
and it started today.
Yep. And we got a lot of announcements from the opening night.
Yep.
And we're just going to rattle them off in order here that
These
you
are the
have on the
big
dock.
ones. I skipped some smaller ones like remaster announcements and stuff. I just skipped.
Yeah, these are the new games, including Microsoft confirming Indiana Jones is coming to PS5 after its Xbox debut.
They also showed some new footage, which looks really promising. But yeah,
Mhm.
the big news here was the rumors were true, is that there are no red lines for Microsoft anymore. There are no games that they're not thinking about, not thinking about porting to PlayStation. And here's the other shoe dropping. We finally know that yes, Indiana Jones will come to the PS5 eventually.
Right, after the 1 year
Yep,
blockade.
makes sense.
Just like every other exclusive window lapse, just like every other game out there.
Yep.
We also have Peter Molyneux, who returning to the stage with Masters of Albion.
Yeah, he's kind of disappeared over the years. He used to be a very prominent figure in the games industry. He was the one who gave us Fable, for
Mhm.
example, and PC strategy games like Black and White. It's been a while since we've seen him. He kind of went and made phone games for a while, and is back with a proper strategy game called Masters of Albion. So cool, I guess. I was never a fan of his games, but a lot of people do like them. So
All right. You're gonna have to help me with this next one because
yes,
this is a video game or is this a series?
this is television.
Okay, that's what I thought because you have to hear Amazon Prime
Yep,
announces Secret Level, which is an anthology series for Amazon Prime Video
yep.
that will be set in multiple video game universes, such as Armored Core and Mega Man.
Yeah, so it works like an anthology series would, like a Black Mirror, where each episode is different. But in this case, it's straight up video game CG. Like it's in the universe of these games. For example, one of them is just going to be a story about Mega Man. Like Capcom was like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And so each one of these is going to be in a different video game universe. Um, Keanu Reeves shows up in apparently in the one that's based in the Armored Core universe because why not? So it's an interesting
Okay.
idea. Um, I think that this would be is a cool way to approach a video game adaptation because if the game doesn't have enough story or like enough depth to it to warrant an entire series or an entire movie based on it, what about one 20 something minute episode of something? I think it's smart. I think this is a way to give a lot of video game stuff in a package that is easily digestible.
Wondering if all these anthologies will be connected somehow
Doesn't appear
with
so,
Secret
no,
Level?
because they're going to
No,
be in the universe of those games. I don't think Mega Man is going to show up in the episode that takes place in the world of Nier, for example. I don't think so.
unless that episode is Fortnite.
Sorry, Nier's not in this. You wish, but no, it's not. I
I know
wish
what you
it was.
mean, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Let's see. We also have Starfields. Its expansion, Shattered Space, will launch next month in September.
Yeah, we had seen some little bits and pieces about this from Microsoft show earlier in the summer. Now we have a relatively like a relative release date planned for it.
Mhm. We also have the next Civilization game, Civ Sid Meier's Civilization 7, which will launch next year.
I
But
included
it's
this.
February of next year, so it's
Yeah, I
not that far.
included this in here because you said on this podcast that you might check it out when this releases because you've
Yep.
liked previous Civilization games.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing six. I like the strategy behind it. I may check this one out when it launches in February.
Yeah.
We also have Monument Valley 3.
Yes.
You think that's already coming out? That's right, but not to Netflix.
I mentioned this because it's kind of a full circle moment. Because remember when the original Monument Valley was a plot point in the first season of House of
House
Cards
of
on
Cards.
Netflix?
Yes.
Well, welcome home.
Welcome all the way back around to Monument Valley 3.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you don't want to play that on Netflix, I guess you just go on kind of play Genshin Impact everywhere, except for Xbox.
Until now.
Until now.
Yep.
Yep, it's coming. Loot boxes galore coming. Your waifus are coming to Xbox.
I mean, it was about time. I think that this was eventually going to be the plan the whole time. It just, they waited until they were ready. So yeah, this is previously the only console you could play it on was PlayStation. Now you'll be able to play it on Xbox too.
Well, and mobile, but we
You know
don't
what
talk
I
about
mean. I
mobile
said
here.
console.
Yes.
Console.
What about the other Hoyo versus? I assume they're
Uh
gonna come to Xbox.
TBD. I mean, maybe eventually, but they'll probably roll out in order. So it'll be
All
a
right.
while until Zenless Zone Zero comes
Just another way to show that PlayStation is 5 years ahead of Xbox
out. In some ways, yes.
in more ways than others. And lastly
Yep.
here, uh, even though it bombed at the box office,
Yeah.
they dropped a bomb in Gamescom, and the good kind. Borderlands 4
Yep.
was not only announced, but we got a date
Yeah.
of next year,
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah, we have a year. We don't have a date yet, but yeah, like you said, I guess they didn't let the bad press that they got from the movie deter them from sticking to this announcement. I bet they probably would have liked it a little better if that the movie had been a success and then they announced this. But, Randy Pitchford's going to pitch. Um,
If anything, it diverts the news away from it
yeah,
being
if anything,
bad.
yeah,
So if you search Borderlands, you get Borderlands 4 news now and
right.
not Borderlands box office.
Smart in a way. Regardless of that, yeah, sure, I'll take a new Borderlands game. I feel it's been a minute since three. Three was fine. It wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be. But then again, I feel like I'm a tough customer because I didn't even think two was what I wanted it to be. But yeah, for those who are have really invested in that world, it seems to extend the lore. It looks like this maybe takes place in the far-flung future, is what it seems
Mhm.
to suggest, which is an interesting angle for a game that already featured a lot of futuristic stuff. Yeah, who knows? We don't have any other information about it yet. It's very early days, but the fact that they're ready to put this thing out next year means that we could be seeing gameplay sooner than later. So, sure, why not? More Borderlands.
Yeah. I thought 3 kind of capped off everything that the story that they wanted to tell,
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
with those characters. So if they start 4 like brand new, fresh, and like do another trilogy of 4, 5, and 6, then yeah, I could see that possibly working out well for them.
See, yeah,
Right. You don't have it here, but I did see that the Marvel's Rivals game got an official launch date of December 6th
yeah.
of this year.
Well, it was kind of a known quantity, so I didn't mention it. But yes,
Yeah.
September release or December release date for that. That's exciting. People who have played it so far think it's the Overwatch people wanted Overwatch 2 to be, which is an exciting thing to say about a game. So that's cool.
Yep. And also they announced that all characters would be available for free without microtransactions.
And that's fantastic because the reason why you're playing that game is because you want to play a game like that with the Marvel superheroes. So if you are locked out of your favorite one, then it kind of yeah, I'm sure that that's disappointing for a lot of people. So
Well, yeah,
it
I'm sure
dodges
they
that.
learned from Battlefront 2, where your favorite characters were locked out or had to pay exorbitant prices.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, any other Gamescom news that we missed?
There were some really bits and pieces throughout. Like a lot of remasters were announced. They're going to put
Mhm.
out a new remaster of the original Goat Simulator. So if you missed that the first time, it's there. They showed some gameplay of Lost Records Bloom and Rage, which is a game that they announced earlier in the summer that I'm very excited for. It looks like kind of like an evolution of what Don't Nod did with the original Life is Strange. I think it looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Still putting on my big red nose for some Kingdom Hearts news, but we'll see.
Nope, nope, nothing. Sorry. Keep
Quiet.
waiting.
Crickets. Tokyo Game Show. I swear it. All right. Did you play anything?
More Call of Duty. I'm sorry. I got nothing. However, I did watch Christy play a new PC game called Love Ghosty, which is a game about a ghost who sets people up on dates, or animals, really, animal people. Think like Animal Crossing. But yeah, it seemed cute. We're gonna probably stream more of that on her streaming channel in the coming weekends. We start streaming together. It's very cute.
Oh,
So yeah.
yeah. I've got more football streams coming. Did some more
Cool.
mutt. I might jump back in college football because the season's about to start. And that's a good
Yes.
segue into television because, yes, I'll just talk about NCAA right now. Kickoff weekend is this weekend.
Yes.
Do 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 do. Get your college game days ready because college football is here. Get your big headed mascots ready. And it kicks off this weekend when Florida State plays Georgia Tech in the battle of the Florida Georgia line.
Exactly.
Except they won't be playing anywhere near that line, as the game will officially kick off in Aviva Stadium. Never heard of Aviva Stadium?
No.
Don't worry, that's just because you haven't traveled outside the country. Because the first game will be played in Dublin, Ireland this year.
Weird.
I don't know why. Apparently, they have some type of like booster setup to play over there. I mean, last this isn't new because last year we saw Notre Dame play in Ireland overseas against a team, but that kind of makes more sense because they're the Fighting Irish. Florida State versus Georgia Tech does not make any sense, but it's football. It's amateur. Florida State is a top 10 team playing this weekend, so maybe it'll be worth something to watch. But at least you get like that starting little like itch, scratches that itch. All right. But let's get into but yeah, other sports news. We have the top French tennis player, Jannik Sinner, test positive not once, but twice for anabolic steroid use.
Yep.
This was 5 months ago in March. Well, the International Tennis Integrity Agency, which, yes, is a real agency, I did not just make that up, has advised that he will not be suspended for taking steroids because they determined that the banned substances that entered his system was through unintentional use by a massage from his physiotherapist, which allowed him to test positive for anabolic steroids. I don't know how much I believe this one, that he didn't know what was going on, but it's a weird one, especially how strict some people are, especially about taking steroids and getting that competitive edge.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a version of the story every few months, I feel,
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, what are they gonna do about it? And it re-ups the whole conversation about drug use in sports, and yeah, here it is
Right.
again.
And like what is considered a banned substance, if it's truly an anabolic steroid, if it's an HGH steroid. There's
Yeah.
various levels of steroid use. So yeah, it's one of those weird ones, gray areas that they determined was a non-issue or not on Janik's fault. All right. In other sports news, we are rapidly approaching October in 2 months, and thus we have the official kickoffs. Well, no, it's not kickoffs. Can't make because it's a tip off, and a puck drop for NBA and NHL, and we know who will be playing in those opening games. For the NBA, we have the New York Knickerbockers taking on the NBA champions themselves, Boston Celtics, where they will raise the banner, get their ring, and then maybe experience a championship hangover and lose the first game, because that's typically what happens. Also, that the opening night, we will have the Timberwolves playing the father-son duo of the Los Angeles Lakers. The Jameses will take the floor. Who knows if Brony will be part of that starting lineup? I'm going to just assume he is going to be for the headlines and the press,
Yeah.
and then immediately get taken out for a bench spot.
Yeah, probably.
Opening tip-off begins October 22nd, pretty much 2 months from now. The following day, we'll also see two very important teams, including the triple-headed monster of the 76ers, Philadelphia 76ers, versus Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But then at night, we get the grand opening of the Intuit Dome and the new logo for the Los Angeles Clippers when they take on the Suns. Have you seen the new ship logo for the Clippers?
I think I saw it a little bit ago. Yeah.
Yeah, they're leaning full on into the ship motif now.
I mean, that is what a clipper is, so at least it
Well,
solves that question.
yeah, if people are wondering why they called the
Like, what's a
Clippers for the
clipper?
past like 20 years
Yeah.
or 30 years or however long they've had that the Clipper name logo or Clipper name but no logo for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Tip off for NBA is October 22nd. 2 weeks before that, the NHL will drop puck as they begin their season on October 8th, where we will see 3 games happening that opening night. The St. Louis Blues versus the always intimidating Seattle Kraken.
Mm.
The Boston Bruins going up against the NHL champions as they raise the banner and get their rings, Florida Panthers.
Yep, yep, yep.
And then nightcapping it with the Chicago Blackhawks versus the freshman team of the league, Utah Hockey Club.
Right.
Still no name of mascot. They're sticking with the Utah Hockey Club for the first season, maybe through a second season, but they will not announce that they're the Utah Yetis until later in the year.
Yeti. No
Yeti.
S.
No S, singular. There's only one Yeti in Utah, even though
No,
there's five on the ice.
the plural of Yeti or
Six.
Yeti.
Plural of Yeti is Yeti.
Yeah,
Are you sure about that?
I think so.
Should we ask Zendaya?
Yeah, yeah. She's Michi. She would know.
Yes.
Anyway,
Anyways, that's sports news. That's the
that's
sports corner.
sports news. Yeah, I guess so. Anything else before we move on?
Uh no, but
No.
our main story is about sports though.
It does go straight into some sports talk, at least down the line here, because today we're talking about Venu. Yes, remember, Venu was the clever name of that sports streaming service that was the brainchild and team up of multiple media companies. So you could have one streaming destination for all your sports, or at least
I'm
most of
just
your
realizing
sports.
that yeah, venue does not have
Yeah,
an E at the
Venu.
end. It should be VENU.
Well, unfortunately, that dream may not become a reality because a U.S. district judge named Margaret Garnett on Friday ruled against the Walt Disney Company, Fox Corp, and Warner Brothers Discovery and barred Venu to proceed with its planned release slated for later this year. She found that Fubo, who was one of the biggest antis in this battle, is likely to prevail on claims that the partnership will, quote, substantially lessen competition and restrain trade, end quote, and a challenge by rival sports streamer Fubo. Basically saying Fubo is saying, yeah, no, that's going to make competition non-existent. People are going to abandon stuff like us in favor of a streamlined option. It's anti-competitive.
Mm-hmm.
If the platform launches, the court concluded that there will likely be a swift exodus, quote unquote, of Fubo subscribers that will lead to the company's bankruptcy. Venu will be the only option on the market for those television consumers who want to spend their money on multiple live sports channels they love to watch, but not on superfluous entertainment channels they do not. End of quote. Garnett wrote. Venu is, or was, targeting a fall launch at $42.99 per month. That is a hefty bunch of money, I'm just going to say, with plans to offer it as a bundle with Max, ESPN Plus, and Hulu. This is interesting because one, it points out that, yeah, of course, these other companies are going to have a problem with Venu. Why wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Two, it points out that, man, they were going to charge a lot for Venu, way more than I would want to pay. And three, kind of pokes the little holes in Fubo's model in a little bit. I know that's not what they intended by making these statements, but it does kind of present them as a company with a model that if you take one Jenga brick out of it, the entire thing collapses. I like how they themselves phrased, well, what happens when you take out the sports? You get, what's the term that they use? Superfluous entertainment style entertainment channels that they do not love to watch.
Yeah.
It's such a self-own, honestly. It's so beautiful. Mwah. I love it.
Yeah, but I mean that's what Fubo markets itself as. That's what they advertise
Yeah.
as the alternative to watch sports, especially overseas, the Premier League and lots of soccer play. That yes, when we talked about Venue, we talked about how great it is for all my sports channels to be in one location. But yes, as we talk about that, they do raise the point that yes, that is technically very monopolistic of what they're trying to do, especially if they end up either blocking or canceling contracts with other providers like Fubo
Mhm.
and redirect them to Venue.
Yeah.
Much in the same way that we've seen, hey, Warner Brothers Discovery recently do, as we talked about last week with Cartoon Network, where
Yeah.
they took out all their shows and clips on Cartoon Network website and said, hey, you want this content? You got to go to Max, or now you got to go to Venue. You got to sign up for what we want you to sign up for. We're not going to license it out. And that, I believe, is where the very anti-competitive
Yeah.
antitrust lawsuit will come from,
Yeah.
or is arising from.
It makes perfect sense. And it's why a thing like this has not existed before, because everybody knew it'd be laughed out of the room and it would be a legal challenge to do it. And so now when they're finally doing it, they're finding out, oh wow, there's going to be a legal challenge for us to do this. Yeah, I don't think Venue makes it this year. We'll have to wait and see in 2025 whether Venue exists at all. I have my doubts, but it's looked like it was just a little too high in the sky. They flew a little too close to the sun on this one, and we're gonna have to shelve that idea for a little bit.
Now, what if, hear me out, starting next year in 2025, it's not these individual corporations that are coming together to create Venue, but the leagues themselves join
Hmm.
together to create a streaming service.
I think that that's less financially or legally risky because they already have the sports. Those entities are the ones who are bringing the sports.
Mhm.
I feel like they would let these leagues do that way before they would let the media companies do it.
So all they have to do is for Venue to pivot from these distribution companies of Fox, Disney, and Warner Brothers to just negotiate with the league themselves. But
But
then you have to
that's,
pay the absorbent licensing
yeah,
fees,
right.
as we talked about, in the billions of dollars to license for those subscribers.
See, the thing is what these guys are trying to do is trying to attack the YouTube TVs, the Fupos, like this is a
Mhm.
shot off of the bow towards those companies. So that's why this was so aimed specifically because they don't want to pay the cable companies and the cable equivalent companies the extra fees on top of the licensing fees. It's both. So yeah, if you might have a point, but I doubt it because I don't think the leagues are going to want to play nice with each other.
They don't have to play nice with each other, just with the service.
Yeah, and we'll see. Um, and it also depends on the league, right? Because we talked about this on this show, how the NFL is a monolith, but the MLB is not. That's a team by team deal at that point, and that's a mess
Hmm.
to try to get into. When you're talking about the NFL, that's different. That could happen someday down the line. They already kind of do that though with the Sunday ticket and red zone, and they already kind of have things you can pay
Yeah.
for from the league that give you access to the league. So I don't know. It'll be
Yeah. But
interesting.
as we've talked about here, these are billion-dollar contracts for 10, 15 years
Yeah.
that they dole out for these subscriptions. Like we were talking about with the NBA contract, getting a new 10-year bargaining deal.
Yeah. I don't know. Also, what additionally makes this interesting is if Warner does indeed chop their company up into pieces, this not might not happen for that reason. Like if all
Mhm.
of a sudden Zaslav's not in charge of what becomes Warner Sports or whatever they end up calling it at the end, once it gets all chopped up, then what is that? Are they even a player anymore? Can they afford anything? They already can't afford the NBA.
Well, it's not that they can't afford the NBA,
Well,
but they
yeah, the
don't
NBA
want.
does want them.
They're trying to lowball the NBA
Right.
in a
Anyway,
very basketball lowball sports.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, don't count on Venue being a thing anytime soon.
Well, darn it! Now I should cancel my pre-order.
You're fine. You're fine.
All right.
Anyways, let's move on. That was the television story, but we have a little brief storyette for you. Just a follow up confirming something that we had talked about in rumor form just last week. The Levies, aka Eugene and his son,
Dan.
Dan, which took me a second to remember Dan's name, will be your hosts for the 2024 Emmys. Sure.
Yes. So they really did go up Shit's Creek to
They
find a host.
sure did. Yep. Mm-hmm. Without a paddle. All right, let's move on then into some thoughts. You watched some TV this week.
Yes, I talked about it last week. That I said I would definitely finish it, and I did. I finished both House of the Dragon season 2 and The Umbrella Academy season 4. We'll talk about House of the Dragon because it's the one that kind of ended way back way, but I just not getting caught up. And I know when it came out at the same time as The Acolyte that I liked it more than The Acolyte, and that still rings true.
Okay.
But as we got to the end, I just found everyone making more and more dumb decisions, which is also what we saw happening with Game of Thrones. That especially in that last season when we got towards the end, they started making dumb and dumber decisions.
Hmm.
Now we already know that House of the Dragon got renewed for 2 more seasons, so we'll end after its fourth season. It's just that because it's a prequel and we see all the pieces being moved around, there's very little that's tantalizing and keeping me engaged. Of I'm just waiting for like this to happen. I'm waiting for the next
Yeah.
domino to fall because as with the prequel problem that we've seen time and time again, we know where everything will eventually end up. We know that something has to happen ABC and 1, 2, 3, necessarily in that order, but those dominoes have to fall because we know where all the players will eventually be by the time the season ends.
Yeah.
Unlike with Game of Thrones, where when we got to that final season, we kind of had an idea of what was supposed to happen. And then they took what we all thought was supposed to happen and said, nah, we're not going to do that. And basically blew to shit what was the Game of Thrones final season. So here, I like that they're actually taking their time and like setting everything up. But it's got that prequel problem for me of, yeah, you can take all the time to set it up, but I know what you're planning.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're going to pull another thing. I'm like, we think you know what you're planning, but we don't, and we're going to surprise you.
I doubt
I doubt it too.
it.
But I at least more dragons this time. That's what people go to the show for. That's why it's called House of the Dragon. People want to see the damn dragons.
Not enough dragon.
Not enough dragon. And not enough money, time, energy, funds, and mainly creativity behind the Umbrella Academy Season 4.
Yes, you're not the first person to have a very negative reaction to how this thing wrapped up.
I'm not negative that it wrapped up. I'm more negative that one, they only gave them 6 episodes. So what I saw last week of thinking, oh, they're going to split it up into part one and part two. No, it was just the 6 episodes for the finale. And they did the thing that I had a feeling they were going to do, but also really didn't want them to do, which is solve your multiversal problem and your timeline problem by taking out the very root of the cause of the multiverse and timeline problem. It's the it's uh the Sleeping Beauty problem that I always reference. Magic, the cause of and solution to all of your problems.
True.
And that's the same thing here true with the Umbrella Academy, because they just determined that superheroes, kids with superpowers, the cause of and solution to all of their problems. But if you keep having that happen, as we've seen with season 1, 2, and 3, they are indeed the cause of and solution to all of the apocalyptic problems that they have. So, someone's creative, great brain dead solution is, well, what if we take them out of the equation? Basically, the equivalent of, what if we just kill Thanos in the first 10 minutes of Endgame?
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with him. I just want to get him away from it because he's too powerful and there's too much going on there, and I just don't want to deal with it. So why can't we just kill him? And so they do that. That's basically what happens here, is that they just remove themselves from the equation and say that, you know, we're not going to be here to cause and solve all the apocalyptic problems, because that's just going to run us ragged and run us crazy. So if we remove all of ourselves, then there's no more problems. There's no more problems for them to solve, because they're also the ones who create the problems. Technically, doing that, yes, solves the whole multiverse, multiple timelines issue, but only related to them. Like, because you still have the string theory that does exist out there in this world, but it's you're taking away, essentially, you're giving us the Umbrella Academy, and you take it away the Umbrella Academy in the end.
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
It is definitely a weird choice. So it's kind of like the only way for everyone to get a happy ending is if our main cast of characters that we followed for 4 seasons do not get a happy ending, and you
Yeah.
take them out of existence.
Yeah, I mean, I commend them for trying something interesting, but like you have to keep in mind what people are there for. And it does seem like to a certain extent they're taking that out.
I mean, that's where you get to the end. And then, I mean, that's just talking about the finale itself. But season 4, I feel like they brought in two great characters in Megan Mullany and her husband, Ron Swanson. Not Ron Swanson, but Ron Swanson.
Nick Offerman.
And huh?
Nick Offerman.
Yeah, sure, whatever. And did not use them to the extent that they could have been used.
Right.
They weren't funny. They didn't really have any, as the main antagonists, they didn't really have any interaction with our heroes. And uh Nick Offerman's character was essentially replaced with a body snatching alien. Spoilers. um Halfway through, so it wasn't even Nick Offerman's character at the end. It was him playing someone else, who then eventually kills the wife. And it's just like, Why would you bring them in here,
No
hype them
idea.
up in all the advertising, and then they don't even face off against the Umbrella Academy themselves, and they end up killing themselves or getting killed not by them. Like
Mhm,
you're
mhm,
taking,
mhm.
like you're giving me something new and interesting, and then saying, "Nah, we're not going to have them do anything in particular." It's taking the wrong like aspects from a Ryan Johnson movie where you're providing the subversion, but the payoff isn't worth the subverting the expectations.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing it just to subvert expectations, but there's no reward for it. It's just saying that this is what we typically see, but I'm going to do something different because I want to do something different, but not have any like actual payoff for being different. There's no
Mhm.
reward for going the off the beaten path. There's nothing there that that's worth interestingly aspect for you to do something like this. So yeah, just a lot of weird choices coming into this fourth season.
Yeah.
Oh, also, biggest one of all, at the end of season three, they took away the superpowers. So at the beginning of episode one, season four, what do you have to do? Give them back their superpowers.
Of course.
Because what is the show without super kids with superpowers or
Yeah.
teens, adults with superpowers?
You
Like,
would think. Yeah.
what is the Umbrella Academy without super? Like, I thought they left it somewhere interesting, like this great unknown of season three, of like, well, technically they could just end it there, and like they don't have powers and they go away,
Yeah.
and everyone would have been like a happy ending of just like, well, we don't know what happened to them, but at least they get to live at the end of season three. If you don't watch season four,
Yeah. Well, not what they had in mind.
well, lots of issues with
Yeah.
the Umbrella Academy ending.
Yeah, it seems generally that people are on the same page as you are. It seems like people who are fans of the first few seasons, maybe less so the last one. That seems like this seems to be kind of a sour note to end it on.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gerard Way.
Sorry. All right. Uh, well, did you watch anything?
No, pretty much just catching up on old stuff. So that means we can move on to cancellations and renewals.
What am I no longer watching?
You're no longer watching Buying Beverly Hills on Netflix, as that has ended after 2 seasons. You're no longer watching Wicked Tuna, which has been canceled finally after 13 whole seasons on Nat Geo, if you can believe it or not. It's a long
I
time.
cannot. Apparently, they caught all the tuna,
Yeah,
or is the
it's not
tuna
wicked.
no longer wicked enough?
Right, yeah,
They got to get
not
sent back to
wicked enough.
Oz. You need more Ariana Grande on that wicked tuna.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't Cynthia Erivo enough. My Lady Jane canceled after 1 season on Prime Video. And much to the chagrin of some fans on the internet, The Acolyte canceled after 1 season on Disney Plus. That was a Star Wars series.
Yes, if you could tell by the name, The Acolyte.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely a Star Wars series.
Yeah, seems to be very divided. Seems like some people were like, "Oh, they only canceled it because a bunch of dumb fans review bombed it to death and were mad that it was inclusive and about women and minorities." Then you have the other half of that conversation, which is, "Well, yeah, that's probably true. However, also it wasn't good." And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't watch it, so I don't know which party is correct, but
I'll
both
tell
can
you
be
what party's
correct.
correct. The one about money, as The Acolyte cost $10 million more
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make than Dune Part 2,
Jeez. Yeah, Disney can't spend that much
and
money
can't
anymore on
see
that.
that on the screen.
Yeah. All everybody wants is just Andor season 2 already. Just give it to them.
I know.
All right, let's move on. Supercell. No R in there. Supercell will get a second season on Netflix. The Gentleman will get a second season on Netflix as
Sorry, this
well.
is Guys Ritchie's The Gentleman.
Yes, The Gentleman. Love Island Games will get a second season on Peacock.
Yeah, sure.
The Traitors, tried to say that in my Alan Cumming voice, will get renewed for fourth and fifth season on Peacock.
You need more ham in that pronunciation.
I know I can't do it. Christy's got a good one because she watched that whole season, that whole second
Oh,
season.
we
She's
watched
caught up.
all the 2 seasons.
She
Yep.
loves the Traitors now. She's way on board.
Yeah, we do.
Um, and then lastly, or not lastly, there's more on the page break. RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars will get its 10th season on Paramount Plus. RuPaul's Drag Race, just the regular one, will get a 17th season on MTV. Dark Matter will get a second season on Apple TV Plus. Hey, that's one thing that Apple TV Plus will make more of. So there you go.
Hey,
Then we have a couple of deaths real quick. Wally Amos, age 88. That famous Amos, the creator of Famous Amos Cookies.
yes.
Also the host of a show called Learn to Read.
Yeah, that was a PBS show.
Yeah. Where I
But yeah,
presume he told you how to read.
yes, but probably most famous for
Yes.
famous Amos
Famous
cookies.
Amos Cookies. Like
Yes.
one of my favorite snack cookies. They're just so good. Just big chunks of chocolate for those little cookies. They're always so good.
Yep.
Then also this week, Phil Donahue, also age 88. Of course, famous daytime talk show host, arguably defined what the daytime talk show would become, predated Oprah. So gives you kind of an idea of how formative that show was. It basically created the format in which Oprah and Ellen, and in recent days, Kelly Clarkson and Drew Barrymore have followed. So it's
Mhm.
kind of set the template for the daytime talk show.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah,
88. Both of them
88.
88.
Yeah, long lives though. That's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. All right, with that, let's move into the final section of the show today, which is movies. And we always start movies with the weekend box office numbers. Your number one movie in the town is Alien Romulus with a debut of $42 million. Not bad, but definitely not Deadpool Wolverine numbers.
No, but for an R-rated alien movie,
Not bad.
yeah, not bad. Respectable.
Disney's probably okay with that. Speaking of Disney, number two, Deadpool and Wolverine is your number two movie again. $30 million in its, I don't know how many weekend, fourth weekend now. And
Yeah.
that's at
Yep.
546 million domestic.
One, two, three, four. Fourth weekend?
Fourth weekend. Got it. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Coming in at number three, It Ends With Us with 23 million this week. That is going to get to 100. It looks like it's a 97 domestic right now. That is a pretty good like bet for a rom-com. So not bad.
Well done, Blake Lively.
Yeah. Despite the mess that tour, that press tour that they've been doing for this movie has been, which you have not reported on, you're not doing us our service.
I don't
But
care.
yes,
I don't
that has
care
been
about that
happening.
movie. I don't care about
I
that
know you
mess.
don't, but our listeners might. They might want to know about weird stuff that Blake Lively is talking about. But
Hey, unless someone is may or may not be spitting on another cast member, I don't really care about press junkets.
fair enough. And then number four in your top five this week is Twisters with another $10 million. That's at 238.
Smash it.
Yeah, that's still doing well. And then rounding out your top five is the weird outlier of this list. Coraline?
15th anniversary Coraline.
Yes. The 15th anniversary release of Coraline made $9.6 million. Uh, yeah, which means, by the way, in case you're counting at home, that the theatrical release of a 15-year-old animated film did better in one weekend than Borderlands did in its first weekend.
Yeah, it's at $12 million. Borderlands currently sitting at $13 million.
That's bad. That's really, really bad. So yeah, that just gives you an idea of how much of a bomb that thing was. But yeah, Coraline back in theaters. Who knew? All right, let's move on from new releases, or no, from box office into new releases. Only one release this week. Um, The Crow. It's
Yes,
not
that's
that
not
The
a
Crow.
re-release. That's not a
No,
remake. It's a
right.
remake. It's a remake, not a re-release. This one stars Bill Skarsgård
Okay.
of the Skarsgård clan.
Yes. So there you go. No idea.
Nope, it's based off the comic book.
All right.
I don't know why it's the only one getting the wide release. There's also something called The Forge, which is a family drama, but I don't. Nothing else here is like uh,
Yeah.
worth mentioning.
All right. Well, slow week for releases.
Don't
We
know
move
why
into
though.
another
Oh, I know
element of
why.
this.
College football is this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Not,
Nobody wants to go to a movie.
not,
Speaking
yeah.
of football, good segue into our film story of the week. Hey, you like football? Hey, you like biopics about coaches? Well, do I have one for you? None other than the biopic about John Madden is in development. David O. Russell wrote the
Oh
script.
no.
Yeah, I know. There's going to be a downside here somewhere. We found it right away. And will both produce and direct the upcoming film about the NFL player turned coach turned broadcaster turned media magnate for Amazon MGM Studios. Attached to star is Oscar-winning actor Nicolas Cage.
What?
What? Who has seen his slew
Nicolas
of
Cage is
hits.
not nothing like John Madden.
No, he doesn't look like him. He doesn't sound like him. It's just a far, 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 far reach to me. I don't know. Anyway, recently, Nicolas Cage has had a slew of hits with Long Legs, Renfield, and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. They forgot about Pig. Quote, Nicolas Cage, one of our greatest and most original actors, that's one way to put it, will portray the best of the American spirit of originality, fun, and determination, in which anything is possible, as beloved national legend John Madden, said director David O. Russell. Now, take a huge grain of salt with everything David O. Russell says, but seems like it's already a mess, and then they haven't even started filming it yet.
Now. To be fair, we have seen crazier picks of casting
Mm-hmm.
for a film.
It's fair.
I'm of course talking about the Sean Payton biopic, where they casted Adam Sandler's dear good friend to play the head coach.
Yeah, weird.
Then that was also a Netflix release.
Yeah.
Paul Blart
Smaller
himself.
potatoes, I think, than this
Yep.
thing.
But yeah,
There's no
Nicolas
excuse.
Cage.
Yeah, I don't get it. My question is in the third act, which I'm guessing this will be the third act, when EA sends somebody to pitch the idea of a Madden video game in like 92 or 91, whenever that would have
Mhm.
happened. Who plays Trip Hawkins, CEO, then CEO of EA? I want to cast a Trip Hawkins.
Matt Damon, of
Um,
course. Wait, no, this is a David O. Russell film. Jennifer Lawrence, of course.
Jennifer Lawrence is Trip Hawkins in. No.
No, you
Honestly,
Bradley
I'd
Cooper, of
rather.
courst. Come on.
Yeah, it's Bradley
Easy.
Cooper.
Next question.
Actually, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, Bradley Cooper could be Trip like a 90s Trip Hawkins. I could see it.
Yeah.
I just need him to say 3DO at me over and over again and see how it goes. Anyways, that'll do it
Yeah.
for movie
I mean, yeah,
news.
it's David O. Russell. I'm sure he'll get actors to join on to this project.
Yeah, whether or not they actually should or not, or work with him or not, or anyway.
Yeah.
Is this what Taylor Swift is rumored to be in? That would be really funny. Because remember, there was the thing going around last year about like how David O. Russell had reached out again to Taylor and she was going to be in something else
She was going to
after.
be John Madden?
Yeah, I wish, man, that would be a different movie, but I would like that movie way more.
That's why she's dating Travis Kelce to get into the mind of a football player.
Yeah,
It all
it was a
makes
long
sense now.
con, is what it was. Anyway. I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, that'll do it for movie news. Let's move on. Well, actually, it won't. You have a little bit of a side story happening this week.
Yeah, this happened like as of an hour ago. Basically, on the 11th hour of the Paramount deal closing with Skydance into
Mhm.
that merger, a dark horse has entered the race,
Oh,
literally as the seconds ticked by, and Paramount now has to entertain a new 4.3 billion offer
okay. Who?
by a conglomerate hedge fund people.
It was just a hedge fund.
Yeah, it's not like Blackstone or anything behind that.
Okay.
It is. investors backing Edgar Bronfman. And yes, I said that correctly.
Bronfman.
Bronfman.
Fun.
Yes, part of the UK investment firm BC Partners and Investment Group, and other names in the mix. But they've pulled
Okay.
together $4.3 billion to try and stop the Paramount Sundance merger and try and buy Paramount themselves. They
We'll
had
see if they can
literally
pull it
until
off.
today
Yeah,
to make an offer, and they slid right under the wire.
I doubt it.
Otherwise, as of 24 hours from now, or of this recording, the merger would have gone through. Actually, it's more like probably 6 hours because it happened at like midnight. Yeah,
Well.
as of midnight of August 21st. So literally the day before, trying to say, hey, not so fast. We have money.
Well, we'll see
So
if they successfully make play here. I doubt it. I think it's too late.
I think so too.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll see what happens
we'll
because
see.
now they got to entertain this for a week to, as they do their due diligence.
It's like
But
unwanted
while
house
they
guest.
entertain that for a week, we
Mhm.
will entertain ourselves by doing other stuff for the following coming
Yes,
week.
because yeah, that will do it for the Media Boat podcast this week. Thank you for joining us. If you want to watch our shows in video form, go to YouTube, search Media Boat Podcast, and you'll find our channel. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications when new videos go up weekly. You can also catch us in audio form on podcast services everywhere, including iHeartRadio and Spotify, by searching Media Boat Podcast there. You can also find us on social media platforms such as Twitter/X at MediaBoatCast is our handle there, Facebook, Twitch. Just search MediaBoat and you'll find us in any of these places. Twitch.tv/MediaBoat is also where you can find Mike playing some football of many kinds, football of many colors. Probably back to college now because of the college season starting, I would
Yep, I
imagine.
got to get myself a second Heisman.
Yeah, you
Someone
got
awesome's
to.
got to have two Heisman's.
He
Uh,
has to.
well, not two Heisman's, two national championships. Apparently, they only give Heisman's to seniors,
Turns
as I've
out.
found out in two seasons so far. No matter
Well,
how good you are, they
he's
will
got to
always give it
be
to the senior.
he's got to be good enough so that way the Rams draft him, right?
Rams never have the number one pick. They're too good.
Fair enough.
This isn't
So he can be
2016
the
anymore.
quarterback of the Jaguars or
The
something.
last time they had a number one pick is 2016. In fact, this past draft was the first time they had a first round draft pick since 2016.
Wow.
Because, as Leslie likes to say on his coffee mug, fuck them picks.
True. True that. All right. Anyway. Um, like I was saying, you can find us elsewhere on the internet, such as mediaboatpodcast.com, our website, which I got an email this week saying that it got 15 random hits in the last 30 days. I'm like, okay, sure.
You're welcome.
So thank you for whoever is coming to our website. But yeah, there you can find an archive of our shows as well as some other features from the past. So enjoy that. But last and definitely not least, you can email us if you have questions, comments, feedback about the show. Mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com is that email address, and we will read those emails on the show if you email us. Big honk outside. All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time
We'll be back next week with
for
the
more.
introduction of college football for the year and more news, more thoughts, some Thomas and the Rets, and some who are you listening to? Lady, no, Illuminati Hotties.
Yeah,
There we
we'll
go.
talk about all sorts of stuff.
Yep, all that next time.
Bye.
Okay, bye.